The station hung above the alien world like a silver bead on an invisible string, catching the distant star's light and scattering it into soft lines across its curved hull. From far away, it looked calm, almost peaceful. Up close, it was a living maze of corridors, docking rings, translation rooms, and sealed gardens meant to keep humans from going mad under metal ceilings. For Elias Carter, it was not peaceful at all. He stood near a wide observation window, hands behind his back, watching the planet turn below. The world was a deep ocean blue with bright ribbon clouds and strange, glowing storms that moved slowly, like someone stirring paint in a bowl. Even after months here, Elias still found himself staring at it the way a person stared at fire, unable to look away, unable to fully understand why it pulled at him. Behind him, the station kept whispering. Air vents sighed. Distant doors clicked. Somewhere a voice spoke in a language he didn't recognize, then the translator system turned it into calm English a second later. The station never truly went quiet, it only changed its sounds. "Liaison Carter," a voice said. Elias turned. Celira stood at the entrance to the observation deck, her posture straight and careful, like someone stepping into a place that mattered. She was not tall by human standards, but her presence filled the room anyway. Her people moved with controlled grace, their limbs slender, their hands long-fingered, their eyes large and dark as polished stone. The most striking thing about her, though, was the light. Her skin held bioluminescent patterns beneath a smooth surface, dim at rest, brighter when she felt something strongly. It wasn't just glowing. It was language, emotion, and meaning written directly on her body. Elias had learned to read the obvious signals. Soft pale green meant polite interest, warm gold meant happiness, a sharp blue-white flicker meant alarm. Right now her glow was quiet and neutral, a gentle shade between pearl and lavender. "I thought you might be here," she said in careful English. Her pronunciation had improved since they first met, though her words still had a musical rise at the end, like questions even when they were statements. "I needed air," Elias said automatically, then realized how strange that sounded on a space station. He gestured to the window. "Not air, you know what I mean." Celira's mouth shifted the smallest bit, not quite a smile, but something close. Her kind didn't show expressions like humans did, but she tried. "You seek open sight." "Yeah," he said, then added, "It helps." Celira stepped closer, stopping beside him at a respectful distance. She looked down at the planet, and the light under her skin changed, faint threads of silver appearing like thin rivers. "Home," she said softly. Elias nodded. "It's beautiful." "It is dangerous," Celira corrected, not arguing, only adding truth. "Beauty is not safety." "That's true for a lot of places," Elias said. A short silence followed. Elias could feel the familiar weight of the station's politics pressing against his ribs like an invisible hand. He had been trained to speak carefully, to avoid emotional words, to never promise anything that could be taken as a treaty. But being near Celira made it difficult to stay purely professional. She listened too well. She noticed too much. Around her, he felt seen. Not as the human representative, not as a file number in a report, but as a person. Celira turned slightly toward him. "The council meeting moved again," she said. 3 cycles earlier, the Clade of Kesh wants to speak before the lattice delegates arrive." Elias exhaled through his nose. "Of course they do." Her glow shifted, pale yellow, sympathetic. "It troubles you." "It troubles everyone," Elias said. "Every group wants to speak first because whoever speaks first sets the mood, and the mood becomes law." Celira tilted her head. "Humans also do this?" "Oh, yes," Elias said with a tired laugh. "We're just better at pretending we don't." Celira's glow warmed, a soft gold flicker. She seemed amused, and when she was amused, the whole room felt lighter. Elias didn't understand how, but it was true. They stood together in the quiet, watching a bright storm bloom over the planet's southern hemisphere. It was slow and silent from this distance, a flower opening in deep water. Elias had met Celira 3 months ago during a tense exchange in Dock Ring 3. A cargo ship belonging to the Vortani Union had arrived without warning, and the human security teams had panicked at the sudden approach. Elias had been sent in as a calm voice, a translator, someone to keep fingers off triggers. Celira had been there as well, standing between 2 alien groups like a patient bridge. She had spoken, and the station's translator had struggled, stuttering through her words. Elias had stepped forward, not with authority, but with honesty. He had admitted the translator couldn't handle her language fully, and he asked her to repeat slowly so he could mark the tones for the system. Most species treated human mistakes as weakness. Sailira treated them as a puzzle to solve together. Since then, the station had made her Elia's official guide for cultural navigation. It sounded simple on paper. In reality, it meant Sailira walked beside him into rooms where a wrong word could ruin humanity's future. And yet some nights they talked about small things instead: human food, alien music, the way stars looked different depending on the atmosphere below. Elias found himself looking forward to those nights more than any diplomatic success. He did not say that out loud. He couldn't. "Liaison Carter," Sailira said after a moment, "you are thinking loudly." Elias blinked. "I'm what?" She pointed at his face as if it held a sign. "Your brow tightens, your jaw pushes, your eyes stop moving. It is like you are speaking inside, but the sound is trapped." Elias rubbed a hand over his mouth, embarrassed. "Sorry, bad habit." "It is not bad," she said, and her glow shifted into a gentle green, the color he had learned meant comfort. "It means you care." Elias looked down again at the planet, then back at her. "Does it ever get easier?" he asked quietly. "All these species watching each other like we're holding knives behind our backs." Sailira's eyes turned toward him fully, dark and reflective. "It does not become easier," she said. "But one learns where to place the weight. If you place it on fear, you break. If you place it on purpose, you stand." Elias swallowed. "Purpose, right. Your purpose is strong," Sailira said, "even when you are tired." Elias didn't know how to answer that. Praise from humans felt normal. Praise from Sailira felt like a rare metal placed into his hands. Heavy, valuable, something he didn't deserve but couldn't drop. He forced a small smile. "Thank you." Sailira's glow warmed again, and for a moment Elias thought she looked younger. Not in age, but in spirit, like someone who had briefly stepped away from duty. Then the station's speakers chimed softly. A neutral voice announced a change in docking schedules. The calm tone did not hide the tension behind the words. Sailira's glow sharpened with a thread of blue. "The Vortani ship arrived early," she said. Elias straightened. "That's not good." "No," Sailira agreed. "They arrive early when they wish to pressure." Elias felt the old, familiar frustration rise. Humanity was new here. The aliens had centuries of rules and grudges. Humans were learning the game while already losing pieces. He looked at Sailira. "Do you think they want to push us out?" Sailira took a moment before answering. Her species didn't rush important words. "Some wish it," she said. "Some fear you will change the balance. Some hope you will become a tool." Elias let out a slow breath. "And what do you think?" Sailira looked back out at the planet, light tracing delicate lines beneath her skin. "I think humans are not tools," she said. "Tools do not choose. Humans choose even when choice hurts them." Elias felt something twist in his chest. He wanted to say more. He wanted to ask what she meant exactly. He wanted to ask what she thought of him beyond his role. But he didn't. He stayed behind the wall of professionalism because that wall kept everyone alive. Still, a part of him hated it. Hours later, after meetings that felt like walking through a room full of glass, Elias returned to the observation deck alone. The diplomatic hall had been a battle without weapons, words thrown like stones, pauses used like traps. The Vortani had implied humanity's presence was a temporary experiment. The Kesh had suggested the humans were emotionally unstable. One of the smaller delegations had looked at Elias with something like pity. Elias had smiled. He had spoken calmly. He had used the approved phrases. He had done everything he was trained to do, and he had felt hollow. Now the lights were dimmed in the observation area. The planet below was darker, its storms less visible. Elias leaned his forehead against the cool glass for a moment, letting the quiet press into him. He thought of Earth, of rain that hit real windows, of city noise, of the smell of wet trees. He thought of Sailira and the way her light changed when she laughed. The way she listened like every word mattered. The way she did not treat him like a strange animal from a new world. Elias wondered what kind of life she might have had if the station did not exist, if politics did not exist. If they had met somewhere simple, two people on a beach watching waves without a galaxy waiting to judge them. He let out a quiet, almost bitter breath and spoke under it, barely more than air moving between his lips. "I wish I could marry her," he whispered. He did not expect an answer. It was just a human thought leaking out when there was no one around to hear it. A private wish spoken to glass and stars. Then behind him a soft sound, footsteps. Elias froze. Slowly he turned. Celira stood just inside the doorway, one hand resting lightly on the frame as if she had stopped herself mid-step. Her glow was not neutral now. It was bright, vivid, alive with patterns Elias had never seen before, rings of warm gold intertwined with thin threads of white and deep violet, moving like living ink beneath her skin. Her eyes were fixed on him, unblinking. Elias' throat went dry. Celira, he managed, voice low. I didn't know you were. She lifted a hand, not to silence him, but to steady the moment. Her voice came out careful, like someone walking across a fragile bridge. Your words, she said. You spoke them to yourself. Elias felt heat rise to his face. It was just a stupid human thing, he said quickly. A private thought. I didn't mean to offend you. I'm sorry. Celira took a step forward. The light beneath her skin pulsed, then settled into a pattern that looked almost focused, like a decision. Offend, she repeated, tasting the word. Elias swallowed. Yeah, because where I come from, it's not something you just say, it's personal. And you're important, and I'm just... You are not small, Celira said, and her glow flashed a firm white gold like a line drawn. Do not make yourself small. Elias stared at her, stunned by the strength in her tone. Celira's hands folded in front of her, long fingers resting lightly together. When my people speak a bond wish, she said slowly, it is not a joke, it is not air, it is a doorway. Elias' heartbeat thudded in his ears. A doorway to what? Celira looked at him as if he were the only thing in the room. The station sounds faded, or maybe Elias' mind pushed them away. All he could see was the light in her skin and the calm seriousness in her face. A doorway to joining, she said, to becoming a shared path. Elias' mouth opened, but no words came out. He had meant it as a sad, impossible thought, something to carry for a moment and then bury again under duty. Celira stepped closer until they were only an arm's length apart. The glow along her throat and collarbone brightened, not frantic, but steady, like a signal held with intention. She spoke clearly, each word shaped with care, as if she wanted the translator and Elias and the universe to understand. My answer, Celira said, is yes. Elias forgot how to breathe. In that moment, the planet below kept turning, storms blooming silently in the dark. The station kept running its systems, unaware that something had just changed in one quiet corner of metal and glass. Elias looked at Celira and saw not only a person, but a future that could break him, save him, or do both at once. He finally found his voice, but it came out rough. Celira, you don't know what you're saying, he whispered. Her glow shifted, and for the first time Elias saw something that looked like deep certainty written in light. I know exactly, she said. And Elias realized, with a cold, sudden clarity, that a simple whispered wish had just stepped across the line into something real. Something that could echo all the way from this station to Earth and beyond. The silence after Celira's words felt heavier than any argument Elias had faced in the council chamber. My answer is yes. The words stayed in the air between them, not fading, not softening. Elias stood frozen, his mind struggling to catch up to what his ears had just heard. He had expected confusion, maybe gentle rejection, maybe curiosity. He had not expected acceptance. Celira, he said slowly, I think we're talking about two very different things. Her glow softened, but it did not fade. The warm gold and white threads still moved under her skin, steady and sure. That is possible, she said. That is why we must speak now. Before misunderstanding becomes damage. Elias rubbed the back of his neck. His training told him to step away, to call a supervisor, to report a cultural incident before it became a diplomatic crisis. But the human part of him, the part that had whispered a wish instead of a policy line, kept him standing where he was. Where I come from, he said, choosing each word carefully, marriage is about two people choosing to share their lives. It's personal, it's emotional. It doesn't involve governments, it doesn't change treaties. Celira tilted her head. The light along her temples shifted into soft lines of blue and green, a sign Elias had learned meant deep thinking. For my people, she said, a joining between two beings is never only two. It is families, it is circles, it is history. When a bond is made, paths connect, paths change direction. That is why it is sacred. Elias felt a slow, cold understanding begin to form. You mean if you say yes, it's not just about us? It is never just us, Celira replied. A quiet alarm bell rang in Elias' mind. Celira, he said more firmly now, I didn't mean it as a formal proposal. I was just talking to myself. I was tired. I wasn't thinking. She studied his face, her eyes searching in a way that made him feel transparent. "But you were feeling," she said. Elias didn't deny it. Celira took a step back, giving him space. Her glow dimmed slightly, becoming calmer, cooler. "If your words were not meant as a doorway," she said, "then we must close it. But understand this, my answer was not given lightly. It was given because I believed your wish was real." Elias' chest tightened. He hadn't meant to hurt her. He hadn't meant to start anything at all. Before he could respond, the station speakers chimed. "Attention. All diplomatic staff and cultural liaisons report to Council Hall B. Immediate assembly requested." Elias and Celira looked at each other. "That's not normal," Elias muttered. Celira's glow sharpened with a thin line of blue. "No, it is not." They walked together through the corridors, their footsteps echoing softly against the metal floors. Other delegates were already moving, some in groups, some alone, their shapes and colors and forms a moving picture of the galaxy's diversity. Elias noticed how some of them looked at Celira, and then at him. There were glances, pauses, whispers in languages the translator didn't bother turning into sound. By the time they reached Council Hall B, Elias could feel tension rolling through the station like a coming storm. The hall itself was a wide, open space with a high, curved ceiling that glowed with soft, artificial light. Seats and platforms were arranged in a circle, each section shaped for a different kind of body. Floating displays hovered above the center, showing symbols of the station and the Alliance. The Vortani delegation was already there. Tall, sharp-featured, their skin like dark stone, their eyes glowing faint red. The Kesh were present too, their insect-like forms clicking softly as they settled into their spaces. Several smaller species filled the outer ring. Elias and Celira took their positions near the human section. A low hum filled the room as the Council's central presence activated. The floating display shifted, forming a neutral symbol that represented no single species. A voice spoke, layered and calm, translated into each listener's language. "An interspecies bond signal has been detected on this station." Elias' heart dropped. Celira went very still. The voice continued. "This signal originates from a member of the luminous clade." Every gaze in the room turned toward Celira. Her glow changed, becoming brighter, more visible, not defensive, not aggressive, just present. The Vortani leader rose from their platform. "This station exists to maintain balance," they said, their translated voice hard and clipped. "A bond between a luminous and a human disrupts that balance." Elias stood before he even realized he was moving. "With respect," he said, "nothing has been agreed to. There's been a misunderstanding." Celira looked at him, then stepped forward as well. "There has been a connection," she said. "It was spoken, it was heard, that is not nothing." A ripple of sound moved through the hall, whispers, clicks, low tones. The Kesh representative lifted one thin limb. "Humans are known for emotional speech," they said. "Are we now to treat every human whisper as a political act?" Elias felt heat rise in his chest. "We're known for honesty too," he said, "even when we shouldn't be." The central display pulsed softly. "Clarification is required." "Luminous Celira, do you formally recognize a bond wish from human Elias Carter?" Celira's glow flared, not bright, but deep, like light seen through water. "Yes," she said, "I do." Elias turned to her, shocked. "Celira," she met his eyes. "I will not pretend I did not hear you," she said. "I will not pretend I did not answer." The Vortani leader let out a low sound. "Then this station must consider the consequences." "What consequences?" Elias demanded. "Paths connect," the Vortani replied. "As the Luminous said. Her people are tied to trade routes, energy networks, and defense pacts. A human bond ties your world into those paths. That changes leverage. That changes power." Elias opened his mouth, then closed it. He hadn't thought about any of that. He had thought about Celira's laugh. About her light in the dark, about not feeling so alone in a metal box orbiting a distant world. The council voice spoke again. "This matter cannot be dismissed. It must be tested." "Tested how?" Elias asked. Celira turned to him. "By trial," she said softly. His stomach sank. "What kind of trial?" "The kind that shows what your wish truly is," she said. "A passing breath or a path you will walk." The room filled with quiet again. The human delegation leader leaned toward Elias, whispering urgently, "You need to step back from this, right now. Let us handle it." Elias looked at Celira. At the way her glow had dimmed, not with fear, but with something like waiting. If he stepped back now, this would become a story about humans who played with words and ran from the results. a story that would spread across the galaxy. He straightened. "What does the trial involve?" he asked the council. The central display shifted, showing a soft image of Celira's homeworld. "A journey across luminous ground," the voice said. "A test of presence, intent, and endurance, not of strength, not of weapons." "Of being," Elias swallowed. "And if I refuse, then the bond signal will be marked as false," the voice replied, "and the trust between our peoples will weaken." Celira spoke, her voice low but steady. "I will be marked as one who opened a doorway to emptiness." Elias closed his eyes for a moment. This had started as a whisper, a private, foolish, human moment. Now it was standing in the center of a galactic council, wrapped in words like trust and power and balance. He opened his eyes. "I won't let this fall on you alone," he said to Celira. Her glow warmed just a little. He turned to the council. "I'll take the trial." A wave of reaction moved through the room. The Kesh clicked sharply. The Vortani leaned toward one another. The human delegation leader looked like he wanted to argue, but stopped. The central display pulsed. "Then it is recorded. Human Elias Carter will undergo the Luminous Path trial." The meeting ended soon after, but Elias barely heard the closing words. His mind was already racing ahead, imagining unknown terrain, unknown rules, unknown risks. Outside the hall, the station corridors felt narrower than before. Celira walked beside him in silence for a long moment. "You did not have to do that," she said finally. "Yes, I did," Elias replied, "because whether I meant it as a joke or not, I said it, and you heard it. That makes it real enough." Her glow shifted into soft gold, gentle and bright. "You are strange," she said. Elias let out a weak laugh. "Yeah, I get that a lot." They reached the observation deck again. The planet below seemed closer now, no longer just a view but a destination. "What is this trial really like?" Elias asked. Celira leaned against the window, looking down at her world. "It is a walk through places that hold memory for my people," she said. "Fields where we gather, waters where we mourn, heights where we make promises." Elias nodded slowly. "And you think a human can walk that?" "I think a human can try," she said. He looked at her. "And you?" "I will walk with you," she said, "but I cannot walk for you." Elias took a deep breath. "Fair enough." For a moment they stood side by side, watching the planet's light shift as clouds passed over glowing land. "Celira," Elias said quietly, "I'm still scared I don't fully understand what I've stepped into." Her glow softened, wrapping her in calm light. "I am also stepping into something I do not fully understand," she said. "That is what makes it a path instead of a circle." Elias smiled, small but real. Somewhere in the station, preparations were already beginning. Ships would be scheduled. Messages would be sent. The galaxy would start to pay attention. But for now, in this quiet space of glass and stars, it was just a human and an alien, standing at the edge of something neither of them had planned, but both had chosen to face. And below them, Celira's world waited. The transport ship moved away from the station with a slow, steady push, like a leaf drifting off a still pond. Through the wide front window, Elias could see the silver shape of the station shrinking behind them, becoming just another star in the dark. Ahead, Celira's world filled the view, no longer distant and quiet, but large and alive. The planet's surface glowed in soft waves of color, like light moving under deep water. Great bands of blue and green curved across the land, and bright points of gold marked cities or gathering places. Thin clouds drifted slowly, glowing faintly from the light below. Elias sat strapped into his seat, hands resting on his legs, trying to slow his breathing. Across from him, Celira sat calmly, her posture straight, her glow steady and pale. She looked like someone preparing for a long walk, not someone about to guide a human through a trial that would be watched by half the galaxy. "You don't look nervous at all," Elias said. Celira tilted her head slightly. "I am nervous," she replied. "But my people show it differently." "How?" "My light becomes still," she said. "When I am calm, it moves. When I am afraid, I hold it in place." Elias studied her skin. The patterns were quiet, almost frozen, like a picture instead of a flowing river. "So you're very afraid right now?" "Yes," she said honestly. That surprised him. "Of me? Of what this path might become," she said. "Not of you." The ship's voice announced their descent. The stars outside began to blur as the ship entered the planet's atmosphere. Light flared around the window, and Elias felt a gentle pressure push him back into his seat. He closed his eyes for a moment. He thought of Earth again, of simple things, of walking down a street without 1,000 eyes watching, of saying something without it becoming a symbol. When he opened his eyes, the ship was already breaking through the clouds. Below them spread a wide field of glowing plants that looked like tall grass made of light. Each blade shimmered in shades of blue and white, moving slowly even without wind, as if the ground itself was breathing. The ship landed on a smooth stone platform at the edge of the field. The door opened with a soft hiss. Warm air rushed inside, carrying a clean, sharp scent Elias couldn't name. It felt alive, like the planet itself was breathing him in. Celira stood first. Her glow changed, becoming brighter, more fluid, the patterns moving like gentle waves. "This is the first place," she said. "The field of first light." Elias unbuckled and followed her down the ramp. His boots touched the stone, and he felt a faint vibration like a heartbeat under the ground. He looked around in wonder. The sky above was a soft violet, streaked with long, thin clouds that glowed at the edges. In the distance, low hills rolled like dark shapes under a blanket of light. "This place is unreal," he whispered. "It is very real to us," Celira said. They stepped off the platform and into the field. The glowing blades brushed against Elias' legs, cool and soft, leaving faint trails of light that slowly faded behind him. Celira walked ahead, her steps confident but not rushed. Elias followed, careful not to fall behind. "This field is where our children come when they first learn to walk alone," Celira explained. "Not away from their families, just far enough to feel their own steps." Elias nodded. "So this is about independence. And trust," she added. "The field is safe." "But it feels endless to a small one." Elias smiled faintly. "Sounds familiar." They walked in silence for a while. The light around them shifted as if reacting to their presence, brightening and dimming in gentle pulses. Elias suddenly realized something. "There are no guards," he said. "No cameras, no drones." Celira looked back at him. "This is not a place for watching," she said. "It is a place for being." They reached the far edge of the field, where the glowing grass gave way to a wide, clear pool of water. The surface was smooth as glass, reflecting the sky and light in perfect detail. "This is the water of remembering," Celira said. Elias knelt and touched the water with his fingers. It was warm. "What do we do here?" he asked. "You remember," she said. He frowned. "Remember what?" "Something that made you who you are," she replied. "Not something proud, something true." Elias hesitated. He had given speeches. He had spoken to leaders. He had stood in front of cameras and said the right words, but this wasn't that. He took a deep breath and looked into the water. His reflection stared back, warped slightly by the soft ripples. "I remember my father," he said slowly. "He worked in a factory, long hours, loud machines. He came home tired every day, but he still asked me how school was. Still helped me with homework even when his hands were shaking from work." He swallowed. "He used to say that the world doesn't change because of big heroes. It changes because people keep showing up, even when they're tired." Celira's glow softened, warm gold spreading gently across her skin. "That is a good memory," she said. "It doesn't feel good," Elias replied. "It feels heavy." "Some truths are heavy," she said. "That is how we know they matter." They moved on, climbing a gentle slope that led toward a line of tall, thin stone pillars. The pillars were carved with faint, glowing lines that looked like writing, though Elias couldn't read it. "These are the names," Celira said. "Every luminous who completes the path places their mark here." Elias ran his hand over the cool stone. "I don't have a mark to place." "You have your name," she said, "and the weight behind it." They stood between the pillars, the light around them dimming slightly, as if the place itself was listening. Celira stopped and turned to face him fully. "This is the part where many turn back," she said. "Not because it is dangerous, but because it is clear." "Clear about what?" Elias asked. "About why you are walking," she replied. Elias felt a knot in his chest. "I'm walking because I don't want to be the kind of person who runs from what he says." Celira studied him for a long moment. Her glow shifted into a deep, steady gold. "That is a strong reason," she said, "but it is not the only one." Elias looked away toward the glowing horizon. "I'm also walking because when I'm with you, I don't feel like I'm just a piece on a board. I feel like I'm a person again." Celira's light flared softly like a sunrise. They continued their journey, moving into a narrow path between dark rock walls. The light here was dimmer, the air cooler. Elias could hear his own footsteps echo. "This is the passage of doubt," Celira said. "Every sound feels louder here." Elias laughed quietly. "I don't think I needed a special place for that." They walked deeper into the passage. Shadows stretched across the path, and the glowing plants were gone, replaced by bare stone. Elias stumbled once, catching himself against the wall. Celira reached out without thinking, her hand brushing his arm. Her glow pulsed sharply, then steadied. They both froze. For a moment, neither of them moved. "I'm okay," Elias said softly. "I know," she replied. "But I still reached." He met her eyes. "I'm glad you did." They walked on. At the end of the passage, the path opened onto a wide cliff overlooking a vast, glowing valley. The valley was filled with rivers of light, winding slowly like living things. In the center stood a tall structure made of crystal and stone, glowing brighter than anything else around it. "This is the place of promise," Celira said, "where my people speak what they will carry forward." Elias' heart pounded. He stepped closer to the edge, looking down at the valley. It felt like standing at the edge of a future he couldn't fully see. "What do I do here?" he asked. "You speak," she said. "Not to me, to the path." Elias took a deep breath. He thought of Earth, of the station, of the council, of Celira's light in the dark. "I don't promise to be perfect," he said. "I don't promise to always understand, but I promise I won't stop trying to see you as you are, not as what you represent." The air seemed to shift, the light in the valley pulsing once slow and deep. Celira stepped beside him. "My people believe that a path is only real when two walk it," she said, "not because they must, but because they choose." She turned to him, her glow bright and steady. "You have chosen," she said. Elias nodded. "So have you." High above them, small lights appeared in the sky, distant ships, watching, waiting. The trial was no longer just between a human and an alien. It was a story being written in front of the galaxy. And in that glowing valley, at the edge of a promise neither of them fully understood, Elias and Celira stood together, not as symbols, not as representatives, but as two beings who had chosen to keep walking forward, even when the path disappeared into light. The sky above the glowing valley slowly filled with distant lights. Ships from many worlds hovered far above, small and quiet, like stars that had decided to watch instead of shine. Their presence could be felt even if it could not be heard. The galaxy was paying attention. Elias stood at the edge of the cliff, his boots planted on warm stone, his eyes fixed on the wide valley below. Rivers of light moved gently through the land, crossing and separating, joining and drifting apart. It reminded him of the station halls, of the council chambers, of all the paths that crossed and clashed in space. Celira stood beside him, her glow steady and bright, no longer shifting with uncertainty. It flowed like a calm stream, smooth and sure. "The path ends here," she said softly. Elias looked at her. "It doesn't feel like an end." "It is not," she replied. "It is a place where paths change shape." They walked down a gentle slope toward the center of the valley. The ground beneath them shimmered faintly with every step, responding like a living thing. The tall crystal structure in the middle grew larger as they approached, its surface reflecting their shapes in soft, broken lines. Elias could see his own reflection now, small, human, standing in a place that had existed long before his world had ever looked up at the stars. At the base of the structure, they stopped. "This is where my people speak their joining," Celira said, "not in words alone." In presence, Elias took a slow breath. He could feel his heartbeat in his chest, steady but strong. He could feel the quiet pressure of the watching ships above, the weight of worlds waiting for what would happen next. "What do I do?" he asked. Celira reached out, not touching him, but holding her hand close enough that he could feel the warmth of her skin. "You stand," she said, "and you do not turn away." Elias nodded. They stepped forward together. The crystal structure began to glow brighter, responding to their presence. Light flowed across its surface, forming slow, wide patterns that reached out across the ground like gentle waves. The valley seemed to hold its breath. Celira spoke first, her voice calm and clear. "I am Celira of the luminous clade," she said. "I walk this path not for trade, not for power, not for fear. I walk it because I choose to see another being as a shared future, not a distant world." Her glow brightened, and the light in the crystal answered, pulsing softly. Elias swallowed, then stepped forward. "I am Elias Carter of Earth," he said. His voice felt small in the wide, open space, but it did not fade. "I walk this path because I don't want my people to be known only for what we build or what we defend. I want us to be known for what we reach for." The light in the valley pulsed again, stronger this time. For a moment, nothing else happened. Then the ground beneath them warmed, and a soft line of light appeared at their feet. It moved slowly forward, splitting into two paths that curved and then joined again, forming a single glowing line that stretched out across the valley. Celira looked at Elias, her eyes reflecting the light. "This is the sign," she said. "The path accepts." Above them, the ships shifted, signals flashed. Across the galaxy, screens lit up, translators hummed, and beings of countless shapes and minds leaned closer to watch. The trial was complete, but the real test was just beginning. Back on the station, the council hall filled once more. The air was thick with expectation. Delegates from every species sat in their places, their attention fixed on the large display at the center of the room. The image of the glowing valley faded, replaced by the symbol of the Alliance. The central voice spoke. "The luminous path trial has been completed. The bond wish has been accepted by the path and its people." A ripple moved through the room. The Vortani leader rose slowly. "Accepted by a path does not mean accepted by the galaxy," they said. "What does this joining mean for power, for treaties, for balance?" Celira's image appeared on the display, standing beside Elia's. Celira spoke, her voice calm but carrying weight. "It means humans are no longer only visitors," she said. "They are connected not through control, through choice." The Kesh representative clicked softly. "Choice can still shift power." Elias stepped forward into the camera's view. "Everything shifts power," he said. "Even fear, even silence, but this," he gestured toward Celira, toward the light still faintly glowing around them. "This isn't about taking, it's about standing where someone else stands and not turning away." The room went quiet. The central voice spoke again. "A new classification will be recorded. Humanity will be recognized as a bonded species, not aligned by treaty alone, but by shared path." Gasps, murmurs, and quiet sounds filled the hall. The human delegation leader leaned forward, stunned. The Vortani sat back, their glowing eyes narrowing. Celira's glow brightened, not in victory, but in something closer to relief. Days passed. The station changed. Where once humans walked carefully, unsure of where they stood, now other species approached them with curiosity instead of distance. Questions replaced warnings. Invitations replaced cold stares. A group of luminous elders arrived, their forms tall and radiant, their light deep and ancient. They met with Elias not as a diplomat, but as a person. "You walk with open steps," one elder said. "That is rare." Elias bowed his head slightly. "I trip a lot," he admitted. "But I keep walking." The elder's glow warmed. Celira and Elias began to walk the station together openly now, not as liaison and guide, not as symbol and example, but as two beings learning how to share space in a place built for 1,000 worlds. Some species watched with caution, some with hope, some with wonder. On Earth, news spread like fire. Screens showed images of Celira's glowing form beside Elias' human frame. Commentators argued. Children asked questions. Artists painted pictures of glowing fields and crystal towers. For the first time, humanity saw not just ships and stars, but faces. Elias stood once more at the observation window, Celira beside him. The planet below turned slowly, calm and bright. "Do you ever miss home?" Elias asked. Celira thought for a moment. "I am looking at it," she said. Then she turned to him. "But I also think I am building another one." Elias smiled. A small group of young, luminous children passed by, their light flickering in playful patterns. One of them stopped and stared at Elias. "You are the walker," the child said. Elias blinked. "I guess I am." The child tilted their head. "Are humans all walkers?" Elias laughed softly. "We try to be." The child's light flared happily before they ran back to their group. Later, a message arrived from Earth. Elias stood in a quiet room and watched as his sister's face appeared on the screen. "You really did it," she said, shaking her head in disbelief. "You went to space and changed the galaxy." Elias rubbed the back of his neck. "I just said something stupid out loud," she smiled. "That sounds like you." When the call ended, Elias found Celira waiting outside. "Your family?" she asked. "Yeah," he said. "They think I'm braver than I feel." Celira's glow softened. "Bravery is often just feeling and walking anyway." Weeks turned into months. Human ships began to travel routes once closed to them. Mixed crews formed, humans, luminous, and others working side by side. Not because they were ordered to, but because it felt possible now. The galaxy adjusted, slowly, carefully, but it adjusted. One evening, Elias and Celira returned to the glowing valley, not for a trial, not for an audience, just to walk. The rivers of light moved quietly. The crystal structure reflected the soft glow of the sky. Elias looked around. Hard to believe this all started with a whisper. Celira's light shimmered in gentle patterns. Whispers can be strong, she said. They go where shouts cannot. They sat together on a warm stone near the edge of the valley. Do you ever regret saying yes? Elias asked, half joking, half serious. Celira looked at him, her glow steady and deep. No, she said. Do you regret wishing? Elias thought of the station, of Earth, of the council, of children asking questions instead of fearing the dark. No, he said, not for a second. Above them, stars burned quietly. Somewhere far away, ships crossed paths, carrying stories instead of warnings. The galaxy did not become peaceful overnight. There were still arguments, still fear, still lines drawn between worlds. But now there was also something new. A story that said a human and an alien could stand together, not as symbols, not as tools, not as pieces in a game, but as two beings who chose to walk the same path. And across the stars, that story traveled, lighting small, quiet sparks of possibility in places that had never thought to look for it before. Elias and Celira sat in the glow of the valley, watching the future move like a slow river of light, knowing they could not control where it went, but proud that, once, they had helped it change direction.